welcome, Matt here. As drummers, you know, sometimes you're playing on the drums, you're just being creative, just it's flowing, it's all cool, and then you play something that you think, that was quite cool, what was it? And then you try and kind of deconstruct what you just played, and you can't figure it out, and it takes you ages to do it. But you just played it without thinking about it in the first place, so why can't you work it out, right? I'm sure you've been there with that type of beat. Well, that's what happened to me this week, and that's the beat you just heard. I just played it, and it was feeling cool, and I was just in the zone with it, and then I thought, oh, I like this, what was it? I had to go through the pain and the suffering trying to figure it out, and it was deceptively tricky for me to do that. I don't know why, but I've gone through the pain and suffering, so I thought, why not share that pain with other people? So now I want to make you suffer as well. So we're going to break that drum beat down. Okay, so we're going to break this beat down in stages. I will just warn you now, it's difficult, it's quite a tricky beat, and there's something quite odd and awkward about it, but we're going to go through in little stages. So even if you're a beginner drummer, you can figure this out, okay? Now the backing track that you heard me playing along with is available to grab for free in the link below. So is the full sheet music for this whole lesson, all the breakdowns, and then the full beat at the end, okay? So what we're going to do first is just the floor tom and the kick. Now, it wasn't all on the floor tom. It wasn't all on the floor tom in the beat, but we're going to learn it like that first of all. So what we're going to do is floor tom actually with our left hand and the kick drum with our right foot, as you might expect. And the pattern that you can see below me now is really, I'm thinking of this as being quite paradiddle based. So think about the left hand on the floor tom and the right foot on the bass drum. So lefts and rights, okay? Paradiddle is obviously right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left. So if we look at the first four notes here, we're going left, left, right, left. So that's an inverted paradiddle vibe going on there. So if you know your paradiddles and you've worked on the inversions of the paradiddle, then you can start to recognize these types of patterns and say, oh yeah, I'm familiar with that, and it's easier to learn. So it's just left, left, right, left. Okay, and then for the second half of that, we're going to go right on the foot, left, left, right. So again, an inversion of the paradiddle. So that's it, just those 8 notes. This is really the crux of this groove. We've got to get those together. So again, if you've worked on your inverted paradiddles, this is easy for you. You're going to feel good now. If you haven't, then work on them. But let's check out this beat, floor tom and kick. Okay, so spend as long as you need on that part, because if you get that really down, really natural, then the rest is easy. So what we're going to do now is start to layer up some other things on top of it or below it. So the first thing we're going to add is the hi-hat foot pedal, and we're just going to give a nice offbeat feel. So it's going to be on every hand. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. So the first and, one and, means that hi-hat will lock in with the bass drum. The second one, it's going to lock in on the 2 and with a floor tom. So think about how those different limbs are working together. Okay, so now we're going to add that last limb that we're not using, which is the right hand. Now initially when I was playing this, the right hand was following the right foot. So I was playing on the ride, and those rides were playing in unison with the bass drum. And our brain likes that. The right hand limbs are working together. So we're going to check that out first. And I think that actually flows really nicely. And just because of the way the rhythms go, it gives this nice push. So we're not actually playing the bass drum on the downbeat. It's coming in just before, like 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E. So it gives it this nice kind of push. Okay, so let's start first of all by doing that ride, locking in with the bass drums. Okay, so again, take as long as you need on each stage. This is getting tricky now. 4-limb independence. Now, that last stage, the right limbs were playing together. So you could argue that it's not 4-limb independence there, because 2 of the limbs are playing the same thing. Maybe, if you're going to be picky, but now we're going to do it. So what we're going to do now, so just like thinking how my brain works when I was playing this, trying to deconstruct it, I was like, well, okay, that's cool. The right hand's playing with the right foot. I like that. but could it do something different? I'm always thinking, what if? What did we try here? What did we put it there? What did we do this? So it's always nice to just kind of, what if? So let's try the right hand playing quarter notes. So now it does take a bit more independence. It's breaking away from the bass drum pattern and it's going to play it straight as quarter notes. So again, think about how that locks in with the other limbs. So the first ride you play, the first right hand is on beat 1. Well, that's going to come in with a left hand on the floor tom. So that's going to feel weird. No bass drum, right hand and left hand together. Okay, and this next stage, we're just going to add some snare drums in. So left hand. So instead of playing all on the floor tom, for beat 3, we're going to play on the snare. We're going to move it across to the snare. Now you could just play one snare on beat 3 and then play the note immediately after it back on the floor tom. But there's a bit of movement there. It's a bit awkward. So I was doing that for a while and thought, yeah, it's kind of cool, but it feels a bit clunky. But actually, it's quite cool then to play both snares, both left hands there on beat 3 on the snare. So it's 2, gap. So you can choose here. Do you want to play them both as accents, or do you want to play one accented and the second one a ghost note? It's up to you, musical choices. We're going to move on to how we can get creative and take this in new directions in a moment. That's the last thing we're going to do. But for now, yeah, that's just a choice to make. 2 loud ones or a loud one followed by a soft one. But let's just have a listen to how that changes the beat, just to give it a kind of backbeat on beat 3. Okay, so that basically is the groove. As I said, this took me quite a while to figure out, so I just played it. Just jamming, free, having fun. And this is why I think when you're practicing, right, very important to practice the structured, organised stuff, focusing on your weaknesses, doing the real hard work, right? But I think it's just as important to have some time just to flow, be creative, because that's when the stuff just falls out of you. The creative fun stuff happens, right? But then sometimes deconstructing that and figuring out what you played is really hard. And I like to do that because A, it's a challenge, but B, then you can remember what it is. You can write it down, you can take note of it, and maybe you'll use it in a song or whatever. It'll become something, right? It's not lost like it would be otherwise. So it's tricky. So what we're going to do now is we're going to play some music. Well, I am, first of all, anyway. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try those 2 different right hand patterns. The unison with the bass drum, but also playing straight with the quarter notes. So listen for how that can change the sound a bit. You know, I'll go on to the crash as well, just kind of get creative with it. And that's what I want you to think about here. If you can learn this beat, it is a tricky one, but if you can put the time in and do it, I say if you can, look, you can do it. But what I mean is if you've got the desire to put the time in, because it might take a bit of effort. If you can do it, then get creative. So first off, try those right hand patterns. But also, how can we move that left hand? So we've already looked at moving it from the floor tom onto the snare for 2 beats, but can we then also start to move it around some of the other toms and get more melodic with it? I don't know, put it on a hi-hat, whatever. Once you've got the pattern, see how you can turn it into your own thing and get creative with it. Remember to grab the full sheet music and this backing track as well. You can just grab it below and you can then learn it and then play it with music if you get it up to that speed. Have fun with it and get creative with it. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit subscribe and see what else is coming on the Total Drummer YouTube channel.